So Christopher Luxon yesterday morning was talking with Breakfast about the $5 prescriptions. There's a couple of really big takeaways I want to throw at us for this. One of the big takeaways is this government has sold itself for the last couple of weeks, because that's all we've had, as we're going to make this change now because New Zealand wants this change. We're going to make this change now because New Zealand has voted for us to make this change. Well, the $5 prescription is something that 85% of New Zealanders, the free prescriptions is something that 85% of New Zealanders want to keep. And all of a sudden, we're going to do this for New Zealand because New Zealand wants it has flipped. It's almost like they'll use that in a convenient way when it suits them and not when it doesn't. Maddie does a pretty good job here talking to the Prime Minister. Let's have a look at the conversation around $5 prescriptions.
Why should people like you and I get free prescriptions when that money could be bought buying extra drugs for New Zealanders?
Sure, except for the fact that the experts are telling you that it is working time and time again. And people back it. More than 85% of people in this latest poll support the fees-free prescriptions. And the experts say that the amount of people that they are able to help, that are coming to them every day, is increasing, and that they're able to spend more time. It has tangible benefits.
Yeah, this is a point we're going to get onto a bit later on as well, Chewy. I don't know if you've done much reading up on this, but the regulatory impact statements, that is a part of government. That is something that happens, which is an external group, part of government, part of Parliament, I should say, who basically look over policies and look over the impacts of them, including good and bad. They kind of flesh out the hypotheticals. It could go here, it could go there. This government's cancelled them. It's not doing regulatory impact statements. The Prime Minister came out 2 days ago or yesterday saying, even if we did them, my ministers wouldn't read them. And this is another example, like we had last week with Brooke Van Velden about the fair pay agreement, that they're not taking expert advice. Maddie's just told him what the experts are saying, and he's going to now answer it by going, oh well. So let's have a listen.
Yeah, well, there's lots more that we want to do in the pharmacy space about using them as, how they can actually deliver some primary healthcare services for us going forward. But again, what I just say to you is, for people like you and I who can afford to pay, there is no point giving us subsidized $5 prescription fees when we can actually take that money and go buy 13 cancer treatments instead.
Sure.
And in reality of healthcare is you've got to be constantly making those trade-offs, because even if this country was 4 times as wealthy as it was today, we'd have we still wouldn't meet all our healthcare needs. And we desperately want to be able to offer and improve health outcomes. And one of the ways we can do that is by making choices like this.
Sure. Except it's not just people like you and I. Do you know what the income eligibility criteria is for a community services card?
Yes, look, I understand that it's low, but
really low.
And likewise, we've got with senior gold card holders as well. But also just remember that as soon as a family spends anything more than $100, or an individual spends more than $100, that is also subsidised as well.
What is the income eligibility? Do you know off the top of your head?
Won't know off the top of my head.
Okay, if you are single and living alone, it is just over $33,000 a year, so less than the full-time minimum wage.
So for clarity, what he's saying is if you earn more than $33,000 a year, you're not going to get free prescriptions. Now, Luxon's saying people like you and me don't need it. And, fair enough. He's right. But someone who's earning $33,001 a year, which would be, $650 before tax, which would be probably $550 a week after tax, they're cut out as well. And this happens a lot. It happens a lot in politics, but it happens a lot with right-wing politics. They always pitch it as, we can afford this, so why should we give it away for free? The Luxons of the world, and respectfully the Maddie McLeans of this world, they're the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, right? And they can afford anything. Luxon can afford 2 Teslas once he gets his fucking rebate back that he's pulling the ladder up for. But that's not the conversation. It's not that you wealthier people can afford it. It's this squeezed middle that you've been telling us so much about, that you're going to look after so much. Those are the ones that are actually going to struggle, because the poorest of the poor, community services card, it won't impact them. Lots of other things will, being that poor, but specifically prescriptions won't. The next layer up, bottom income earners, but too much for this, it will. And this is always that thing too. And I'm always sort of the opinion that if you're going to err or lean one way or the other, I would rather err on the side of giving 5% of people who don't need it the benefit, as in the plus, not the benefit as in wins. I'd rather give 5% of people who don't need it the benefit than cutting out 30% of people who do. That's how I would rather see the country operate. Thoughts, sir?
I mean, he's almost stumbled on something that could help, but like an idiot, he's just tripped on past it. Like, yeah, people with community services cards don't have to pay the prescription fee.
Yeah.
But then, as Maddie's pointed out, the community services card eligibility hasn't been looked at for ages. So we're looking at near a poverty wage before you get that at all. He could say, hey, look, we're going to bring up community services card eligibility to middle income earners, people with kids under 10, people with chronic illnesses, all of these things that he could remedy, but he's just going to bring that up and just gloss past it because he has no experience of the community services card. He hasn't listened to anybody talking about how these removing prescription fees have massive flow-on benefits. He hasn't listened to the pharmacists that are saying this is a real improvement. He hasn't listened to the GPs saying this is a really good thing. He hasn't listened to anyone in the downstream medical field that are going, hey, this could massively save people's health before it gets really bad, save money in the primary health sector because we're getting on top of these things before people have to go to hospital. It is what I have always said about these guys, short-term thinking. They are just looking at the top line. They're not looking at the bottom line. And they're not even considering the massive administration savings of just going, yeah, fuck it. Everyone gets it. Just do it.
I've said in the past the idea about paying for cancer treatments by doing this is an okay payoff. I've actually changed my mind on that. I'll give you the reason why once we get to the end of this clip.
Who kids, $61,000 a year. Again, less than 2 full-time minimum wages. So we can pay,
yes,
but many, many people cannot.
Sure.
There are so many people who are not eligible for the community services card or the gold card who are still really, really struggling every day to get
big
by.
Time. Let's be clear, New Zealanders are struggling big time at the moment. And if you're
You can't just say big time, Mr. Luxon, and then go, oh, well, but they're going to keep paying for it. You can't have both things. You can't have it both ways.
Low and middle income worker in particular, it's really tough for you. Why? Because the previous government let inflation get out of control, and that means the cost of everything's got very expensive.
And so your entire election policy was around those people, right? The squeezed middle, the ones that are struggling every day. And you were saying to them that they can afford to pay these $5 prescription
what we're
fees.
saying,
the experts are telling you that's not true.
Well, there is also ways in which you can avoid the $5 payment being made, but depending on who you actually go purchase the prescription from in New Zealand already today. That has been the case for a number of years now.
So I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but here in Dunedin, if you go to Countdown on the one ways, the prescriptions are free. So what he's basically saying is go to the commercial sector where they will loss lead for you to get you in their doors to look to sell you a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So it's true what he's saying. I don't know if there's more than one in Dunedin. I don't know if it happens at every Countdown. Okay, but they want, but you know, this is the commercial aspect of making money off the poor. Yep, come in your door and get your $5 off, and then spend $50 while you're here on groceries.
There's something that ties all of these people that don't charge prescription fees. They're all big Australian-owned businesses,
right?
As you said, Countdown, Chemist Warehouse, Bargain Chemist, all of those guys, and they're all putting the squeeze on those smaller community pharmacies and that sort of thing. And the thing with those guys is that they're often in the communities that people are in. So if you're sick, and you can't go to work and you go to a pharmacy, what are you going to do? You're going to take public transport all the way into town to a mega chemist? Or are you going to be able to walk down the road to your local chemist that provides a completely different level of care? For a party that's supposed to be all about small business owners, he right there is shitting on all of them.
Yep. Well, are they really about small businesses? Right, let's go about 45 seconds to go.
Some of the larger retailers who have got prescriptions available actually have that subsidised already for you. So the question for you is, I get it. You know, the reality is we'd love to do it all.
True.
We'd really love to do it all. But this is not a wealthy country. This is a country that cannot afford everything that we want to be able to do. Even more so, given the books that we've been left by the recent Labor government that's left. So all I'm saying to you is we're going to try and look after the people who desperately need the help and support on the $5 prescription charges. For those that want to try shopping around and other other retail outlets that actually you can avoid paying the $5 prescription, feel free to do that. And for people like you and me that can afford to pay, let's take that money. Let's go buy 13 cancer treatments. The National Cancer Control Agency says that we would need here in New Zealand to start to close the gap that we see we have with Australia.
Could you?
You stole my thunder there a little bit, Chewy. The other thing to be really aware of, right, is that my understanding is 12 of these 13 cancer treatments for being funding were actually approved by the previous government. We don't hear very much about that. And this is the point, Chewy, you just got in there before me, that the reason that I've kind of changed my mind on it a little bit, is because there are other ways they could fund those treatments. So once again, we've got sick people putting more money in the coffers so that they can take more money out for tax cuts. So you have got another example of sick people, vulnerable people, the poor, who are more likely to be sick and need to go see doctors than the rich, giving more money to the government that's also giving tax cuts. So paying for tax cuts, Julie.
There is no clearer example of who this government is for. So, I mean, in his victory speech, he said that he was governing for all New Zealanders, no matter who you voted for. This is clearly bullshit, because this is just another policy that is going to come down harder on poorer people, or not even poor people, just working people on the average wage. This is going to affect. They're also coming after you for your working for families' tax credits, your early childhood subsidized rates and that sort of thing. And the money, oh my God, the money. Now remember, we can't possibly afford free prescriptions for all, because that'd cost $618 million over 4 years. Can't afford it. Hard choices have to be made. Because some wealthy people might need a prescription every now and then. But do you know what we can afford, Pat?
Oh, tell me, Chewy.
Do you know what we can afford?
Oh, I'm waiting to hear from it.
Different number. We can afford to bring forward interest tax deductibility for landlords at $900 million over the next 4 years. Suddenly we've got money for that. Fuck these guys. Like this makes me like the thing that has surprised me about these guys getting in, right? I thought, it's going to be a little bit bad. It's a different ideological spin on things. They're going to be more pro-business and all of the things that we expect from National. What I have seen in these 2-3 weeks is just such turbocharged, mean-minded, not backed up by facts, just reactionary shit. And they have just hit the gas on this. They're not even pretending to hide it. They're not even pretending that they have the ability to sell this to anybody.
Yeah.
They just don't give a fuck.
Let me give you.
They don't think that we're going to stand up against this. They think we're just going to lump it, and it's just I'm furious about the whole thing.
The people in the chat are loving the Chewy rant, but let me give you a little reminder of something that will make you rant harder and get angrier. Remember the idea that they're going to take more money in tax by cancelling the Smokefree 2025 targets. Mm-hmm. That's what they say they're going to do. But remember, you've talked about $600 million that this would cost. Remember, getting rid of being smoke-free is going to take $10 billion out of our economy, because research shows it's going to cost $5 billion more in healthcare, and we're going to lose $5 billion from earned income that those healthy people would have had. So that's actually a $10 billion hole that they've chosen to create whilst getting rid of a $600 million benefit.
Pat, let me put on my National MP hat for a little sec.
Okay, I'm waiting. Oh, don't sully the cap. Don't sully the swag hat.
I understand, Pat, that you've got research numbers and you've prepared a big long document to show me how this is going to affect things. But I was elected to lead, not to read. And fuck your facts. I'm all about my feelings.
Yeah, that's what we're
getting from these guys. It's vibes.
It is vibes. They've continued on.
It's just we don't need experts. We don't need experts. We don't need different opinions. Our backers, our donators, they want us to do this thing. So we've done it.
Well, you know what, Chewy? I'm going to make you madder. I like a mad Chewy because we're going to have a look at this last clip from Mr. Luxon. What he wants to do is get rid of dumb policies and policies that aren't working. That's what they want to get
he's
rid
going
of.
to disband his government. Is that what you're promising me? That's going to calm me the fuck down.
Let's have a listen.
Okay, the Māori Health Authority gave an overhaul to the high order Māori scholarships earlier this year. What will happen to those scholarships if the Māori Health Authority is scrapped?
Well, they'll be ultimately looked at by Shane Reshi as he gets his head around his new brief in healthcare.
But are they on the chopping block?
But what I've said to you is any and every program is going to be reviewed by the previous government. There are a lot of programs to make sure that it's working. If it's working, if it's delivering better health outcomes for the communities that it's supporting, then it will continue. If not, it won't.
So you'll look at those. You're examining the Māori and Pacific admissions scheme. So where are we heading with this?
In what way?
In terms of, can people rely on
And are you driving us into the ground economically and socially in that way?
actually having these kind of scholarship programs in
Absolutely,
place?
if they're working. But what we're just saying, like as I have said to you before the election, every government policy, every government program, the dumb stuff needs to be stopped. The things that aren't working and getting results will be stopped. Things that actually are working incredibly well, we want to put more money behind and make sure we get.
Okay, now Chewy, the things that aren't working, we want to put money behind and get more of. Right? This is where you're going to lose your cool. You ready?
Yep.
Clean car cash, the clean car discount. Is that working? Is that net flow positive? Or is that a dumb idea that's not working?
Because according to check his garage.
According to what he's saying right now, we are one of the top 3 countries in the world for uptake of EV cars. It's a policy that's not dumb. It is working. It is giving results, and it's no longer costing money. My understanding, Chewy, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's our net flow positive. Yet they're cancelling it. So what are you talking about? It sounds like what you're talking about is you've got some backers who kind of wanted to get rid of that particular one, and you've gotten rid of it. Now, there's more of this clip to play, Chewy, but if you want to jump in before that, you're more than welcome.
This is where I mentioned that I now have to pay a $5 prescription fee for my blood pressure medication.
Let's give you a small break then, because there's one other thing from this conversation that I really want to get to, and it's what he said about the Māori Health Authority left me dumbfounded.
Get better results with.
So if
that's just part of that process.
So if they're not working and you get rid of them, what happens then?
Well, if they're not working, they're not working.
Yeah, but
so we would want to get rid of them, wouldn't we?
Yes,
by definition.
Potentially, but you'd also
not potentially. If they're not working, you'd want to stop them, right?
Potentially, but you would want to make sure that they will replace with something to continue to encourage Māori and Pacific doctors into the sector. As you
might well be, yes, but until we understand what that review is and what the outcomes are and what's being delivered and what's not being delivered, we want to home grow more doctors in New Zealand. We want to home grow more Māori and Pacific doctors in New Zealand.
He's doing
we just want to make sure that actually they're delivering for those communities.
He's playing both sides.
What does it say, though, in a world where we desperately need Māori and Pacifica doctors, more of them? Reports since the 1980s have been saying that. What does it say that your government has deemed the Māori Health Authority unnecessary?
Well, we just don't think it works. It's not delivering improved outcomes for Māori. That's the issue. You and I may disagree on that, but you have to get really real about outcomes in this country, because you can't just go form things. And the first review of the Māori Health Authority is pretty abysmal if you go read the full report, to say it hasn't delivered very well at all in terms of planning, in terms of governance at all, a year down the road. And equally what we're saying is every Māori health outcome went backwards under this last Labour government. We care about Māori. We want Māori to do incredibly well in this country. The means by which we deliver improved outcomes may be different from how you might like us to do it or how our previous government did it, but we are determined to get improved outcomes for Māori. At the end of the day, what do Māori want? Māori have gone backwards economically. The higher victims of crime in this country. If you look at Māori education results, healthcare results.
So what I want to get to, we're going to fade him down. I've had enough of him. What I want to get to is the statement, a year down the line. Māori Health Authority, a year down the line. Now, if you accept, and maybe this will always be a hurdle from the right, if you accept, and I would just say, look at all the social stats, look at all the health stats, that there is a systemic issue in New Zealand to do with Māori and health, you think you're going to get the results you want to see quote, a year down the line. They've given it a year and they've gone, no, not going to work. Goodbye. A year down the line, Chewy. That's what they gave it. And they thought, can't see enough of a positive result, systemic issue, it's gone. That's the bit I think not many other people have talked about this, but that's the bit from that conversation that shocks me most of all.
We're just seeing more of the same theme. I feel like I'm going to be banging this drum for a while, Pat. Of course we want to see more Māori and Pacific Island doctors. What sort of monster would say that we don't want to see more Māori and Pacific Island doctors? We're not going to do anything to encourage it. We're not going to even try to redress any of the systemic imbalances with those people getting to the stage of university medical study. No, but we want them. We're just not going to do anything about it. It is the Luxon two-step. I've got a buck each side. I'm going to say the nice fluffy thing that everybody expects me to say, and then I'm going to shit on it. It is standard stuff from him now. And if we're going to go, what's happening with these scholarships now that you're shit-canning the Māori Health Authority? Well, the answer there, Maddie, I'm not going to say it out loud, but if you look at what we've been doing, you'll see the answer. It's the fucking flow chart. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put money into the things that are working, which is European supremacy. It is people that have already received everything that our unbalanced society has given. So we're going to have more rich white doctors because that'll keep my golf course and my country club the nice shade that I enjoy. Look, if he doesn't want to get called the big nasty R word, he needs to stop doing the things that a big nasty R word would do.